Brennan Davis is on a tear. We get other prospects updates before previewing Cubs Braves. Let's go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making Locked On Cubs your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day. Like the video and comment anything below. Today's episode is presented by our great partner, Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Not that long ago, Brennan Davis was the top prospect in the Cubs system. He was a second-round pick in 2018, a Futures Game MVP in 2021, and hit the top 100 prospect list in all of baseball prior to the 2022 season. Multiple injuries derailed Davis, who is now on a comeback tour. Everydayer Ty Lewin is guesting with us today, second time this 2024 campaign, and he's going to be our Brennan Davis beat reporter, I do believe. Later in the show, we will also do a prospects roundup to get updates on some other players, as well as a Cubs-Braves preview. Ty, it's time to start telling us about Brennan Davis.
Boys, thank you again for having me. It's so good to see you guys. I know times are a little glim right now, but hopefully we talk about a few guys today that might be able to help us out. And I might be able to put a smile on Sam's face just like I did there. I think I think when it comes to Brennan Davis, this is a pretty cool story, guys. And Matt, you alluded to this a lot right there with just, what he has been to the Cubs organization. Of course, many Cubs fans know that he was the number one overall prospect at one point and then fell out of it or fell out of the top 30. And things have, of course, been wild for him. But, let's just start off with just the stretch that he's had here over the last couple of games. It's been pretty remarkable. Over the last 8 games, he's 12 for 24 with 7 bombs and 15 RBIs. He's had 4 games in a row with a home run during that stretch. And then also 2, he also had a multi-home run game in addition to that. Thus far during AAA, during his stint here thus far, he's got a 270, 442, 667 slash line with over an 1,100 OPS through 63 ABs with 8 homers. So, Matt, I think what's also people should know really what's happened to Brennan Davis over the last few years. So drafted out of high school in 2018, second round pick, really excelled through the minors. Like you said, was a top prospect for the Cubs, top 100 prospect in all of baseball, was even a Futures Games participant in 2021. And then everything kind of went south from there. Really from the beginning, though, he's had injury problems. In 2019, he had 2 IL trips. He missed the start of the 2021 season due to getting hit in the face by a ball during spring training. Not an ideal scenario there. But then 2022 is where things really fell off for him. It really was a wash due to back issues that unfortunately led to surgery in June of that year. So that basically kind of crushed that year for him. And then 2023 he ends up having core muscle surgery in that year as well. And in addition to that, he's also had an IL stint to start the 2024 season. But since then, of course, things have looked a lot better for him, as we mentioned earlier with that stat line. So I think overall, is this a guy that, do the Cubs take advantage of this and use this as a trade asset as we come up here on the deadline? Is he a player that's going to make an impact here in 2024? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts.
Yeah. I don't know, because I think the easy thing right now, when you look at, the up and down of the big league club lineup right now, it's putrid. I talked about it for yesterday's show. I gave, what did I give, Matt? About 4 Fs this season?
4 out of 9, I believe.
The tricky thing with Davis, and this is, first of all, I have nothing else to say about Davis and his progression. I'm just going to go from the Cubs big league side of this because I think you guys covered it already. For Davis, it's the same question we ask ourselves daily on this show. How much time does a player like Ian Happ get before he starts to lose ABs? Because when you talk about Brennan Davis, where do you put him? Right now, you have Morel at third base, okay? Your outfield is Happ, Bellinger, Suzuki, and then the fourth guy, Tauchman's the DH. That's where the at-bats are going. So there is no other spot for him, okay? I had somebody tell me the other day, hey, I think it's time that, Bush has been basically Trey Mancini now for the last month. So why don't we go Bush starts to lose some ABs, Bellinger over to first base, PCA gets some looks in center field. Because we said before the season, if PCA is going to play, it's not PCA versus Bellinger. Bellinger's going to get his ABs. It's PCA versus Bush. I need somebody to paint the path for me without an injury to where Brennan Davis comes in. Would I love to see him called up and get a chance to play, and maybe Ian Happ gets a phantom IL stint to clear his head? Sure. Maybe it's Michael Bush needs an IL stint, and then Bellinger goes to first, Tauchman can play center, and then Brennan Davis can DH from there. I don't know. But the outfield is without injury. It's tough to just crack him in the lineup, but you'd like to optimize what you're getting here because that this is an incredible stretch.
Yeah, so I don't want to get too first takey, and I'm not good with the IL stint stuff, but I think Tuesday, Happ and Bush, there should be a path to them taking a seat. And if there's going to be a player that gives a jolt in the lineup, if you want to try to play the hot hand at a time where you've been cold, either due to absences or poor performance or both, then this could be the time. And it is good to have this discussion because you could swap Davis for PCA for now. And you could go Davis in left, Tauchman in center, Suzuki in right, Bellinger at first. You hope Swanson and Horner come back. Morel has solidified himself at third, thank goodness. And Bush, Happ, and Wisdom as part of the bench are then the DH rotation. And for as much as I would like for that to be an option and it takes what it takes, I think it's unlikely that happens. But this run that Davis is on makes for an easy lead as Ty joins us today because it's actually a legit convo, Ty, unless I'm crazy, that he could bat 8th or 9th and play left on Tuesday. Why not? Happ and Bush are performing at levels that actually take away wins. If you backdate this to the 17-0 loss to the Red Sox on the 27th of April, these guys are negative players. And if you have a guy who's hit 7 homers in 8 games and he's accepting his walks down there, he's clean defensively, he's got good speed, he's an athletic kid, it would make for a heck of a story.
It would. And then also, too, if you can get him up, I mean, this is kind of looking a little bit too much into the future, but if you get him up and he does actually provide value at the big league level, well, then maybe Happ figures it out and then he is gaining even more value as a prospect to be used in a trade. So yeah, all those things to consider.
Can I just say this, though? And Matt, I know you know this already. I'm saying this more to our listeners than I'm saying this to you. Michael Bush got off to a great start. He's been bad for a month. If they start losing him ABs now, it's not a great look to the players, right? Your first stretch is a struggle. It's really the Michael Bush thing. This is what happens with a rookie. Right. You go through ups and downs. It's amplified because the rest of the team is either hurt or not performing.
Yeah.
I think the Hap thing's probably the more interesting one. And that's where you have to ask yourself. I see it all the time. Hey, Hap has a track record. They're going to let him try and figure it out. And he does have a track record. Now, make no mistake, his track record is being a nice player. That's who Ian Happ is. And by the way, that's who the Cubs are. They're filled with nice players.
They're above average.
We're hoping that Seiya Suzuki could jump into that. So far, he hasn't. Bellinger for the last 2 months of the year last year did, and the team went 33-14 during a stretch. Ian Happ has a track record of being a nice player. The question you have to ask yourself is how much time do you give somebody to, quote, figure it out when figuring it out just means you go back to being a nice player? That's the question here. My guess is they'll probably, don't forget, it wasn't until late July, early August they finally moved on from Trey Mancini last year. It took that long. That writing was on the wall in mid-April. The guy couldn't move. He couldn't run. And he hasn't even gotten close to a big league team since at the big league level.
Yeah.
So if it takes that long for Mancini.
Well over 100 games.
Yeah. How long you think they're going to give Hap? It's tricky. But I'm not opposed to it. I'm just playing devil's advocate from the big league side.
Well, that's the problem right now is because we know the Cubs don't have an elite offense, and we know Bush and Morel are going to be hot and cold, but then everybody else is just cold or not there.
This team, Ty, this is how this team is built. They need all their nice players to have nice performances for it to work, and then it looks good. They're missing the guy that it's built around. And that's why we all wanted Shohei Ohtani. It's a perfect place for a superstar to land. But when you look at it right now, here's their nice players right now. Bellinger doing what he's supposed to do. Suzuki is still nice, having a nice season. Horner, fine. He's been out. Swanson, either injured or absolutely horrendous. Ian Happ, been absolutely horrendous. Well, then the whole nice player above average model fails when two guys are replacement level offensively. So that's where you run into issues with the high floor model.
Yeah, and it's been a struggle too because the team was built on this nice player concept. And once you have injuries and you're relying on these prospects to do what they're supposed to do or what you think is possible, and we know that really no prospect in their first year is going to have an unbelievable year, right? At the end of the day, according to our expectations. So, seeing guys like PCA get their time, like he's starting to find a groove, but we know that's probably going to end up being, it's going to go the opposite direction because guys are going to come back, lineups are going to get adjusted, and who knows who's going to be on the field on Tuesday. So there's nothing that feels like a routine with this team. And you guys have alluded to this almost every episode where it feels like this team is not going to find its groove until it's the last moment possible in August. And then we're going to be trying to fight against Milwaukee for the division title in September.
Before we go to break real quick, do we even know if Luis Vasquez is coming up for an injured player? Are we? Yeah. So, I mean, we really don't know who's going to be on this club 24 hours from now.
No, I don't think we'll know till about 3:30 when the clubhouse opens. We know Swanson's coming back.
Yes.
So it's just a matter of, is Horton going to the IL or someone else?
Right.
That we don't know about. So, all right, we're going to get updates on Cade, Horton, and more next. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Are you struggling to close deals? Business-to-business selling is tougher than ever. And that's why we want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator, a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with the people that matter. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a free 60-day trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon to get started. The Cubs play the Braves at 6:40 p.m. Central Tuesday, and you can hear every pitch of the Cubs hometown broadcast on SiriusXM by searching Cubs on the SXM app. Ty Lewin is with us talking prospects and more. We will close out this show previewing more of Cubs Braves this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday series. Ty, Cade Horton is in Des Moines with the likes of Luis Vasquez, Brennen Davis, and others. How many starts has he made so far with the Cubs, and what are the first impressions as he reached the last level before the show?
Yeah, and I preface this, right? Every prospect that makes their way up and makes a promotion, everyone thinks that because Cade Horton had the success he did in Double-A, he should have it in Triple-A. Well, those things don't happen, right? He's got 12 innings pitched over 3 starts. He has a 1-1 record with an 8.25 ERA and a 1.67 WHIP. Looking through the issues as to why these stats are obviously out there has been the walks thus far. He had 4 walks in each of his first 2 starts. On a semi-positive note, he did only have 1 walk in his last start, and he actually made it to 8 innings and allowed only 3 earned. Now, it looks like a widespread of things as to where these issues came about. Number one would be just the strike rate in game 1 and game 2. We had a 57% strike rate and then a 61% strike rate in game 2. Game 3, he bumped that up to 73. All the numbers and everything, you could look at all these things, right? He has elite secondary stuff. And if he is not filling up the zone with the fastball, then we know that when you're getting to those higher levels in professional baseball, there's really no sense of having that if you're not going to be able to fill up the zone with the fastball. So, we saw it with Paul Skeens. I know that's a pretty ginormous kind of comparison, but Paul Skeens didn't have the greatest start out of it because of, when he came up to AAA, he had to fix some things, and these guys need to do that. And so what's been great, though, is just that we've seen progress now into his 3rd start, which I'm just as excited as everybody else. But we have to understand that they are not trying to push this kid. We've seen him stay in Double-A, we thought, way too long. And maybe we're seeing why. Maybe he needed to fix a few other things. Now we're starting to see these starting to figure it out a little bit more in AAA. I'm really excited for his next start.
Yeah, I think it became kind of obvious to me by spring training that the advancement wasn't going to be what we all hoped with him. So now it's just kind of being patient. Felt like his last start, from what I read, had a lot of bad BABIP luck, and there was a lot of improvement there. I don't like when we reach for things, though, sometimes on social media with these guys. This was great. Let's see. Let's have, he's going to need a good 5-start stretch to even get considered to being on this club. I think right now we're all in the Cubs need to make the playoffs mode. Long term with Cade Horton, there's no concern at all. Can I just shift gears and ask Ty something real quick, Matt? You didn't answer, but I guess I was going to do it. Ty, one guy I don't want to say concerned with, but I want to say surprised with. I don't know how much you've watched of him, but Matt Shaw is somebody that I really thought by right now, and this was from his at-bats in the spring. This was from talking to people around the league. I thought by right now we would be like, why AAA, let's go. It's time to go. It's time to get to AAA. Yeah. And he's batting .208. The on-base is solid at .344, no slug. Is this just another case of just maybe we anointed him too quickly? Or there's some things. I mean, I looked at all the peripheral numbers, 34 strikeouts, 24 walks. Nothing really stood out as bad outside of the .208 number. But, it has been really quiet on the Shaw front.
It really has. And that is the tough part about this, right? Is because, every at-bat is different. And we know that you mentioned it earlier with the 24 walks. That is extraordinary when it comes to measuring it up against other players within the farm system, even down to high A. Really, what we've seen of Shaw is that the way his approach is, and I listened to this on one of the podcasts that was discussing Matt Shaw versus actually Jefferson Rojas, which is a really interesting discussion. But with Matt Shaw, his approach really truly is to right center. And I think that with the walks that we're seeing and maybe the level of pitching that he's getting, maybe he is not getting the pitches that he's looking for, and then he's having to make, tougher decisions. Now, I haven't been able to watch specifically his games as much as I'd like to, but if you look at the numbers and kind of understand his swing a little bit, in my eyes, if he's seeing the ball deeper, that means that he's trying to obviously see it the other way, and the way that his batting stance is aligned is to go to right center. So I would just say that really over the last couple of games has actually looked pretty good numbers wise. I think that we just need to pump the brakes a little bit, because these guys, we shouldn't be rushing these guys. And I think where the Cubs are really, really happy right now is how well Morel has done at third. That has really probably brought a level of distress onto them, because they probably felt the pressure that we need to get this kid up as fast as possible. Maybe they did that. Maybe they tried to do things too fast with him. Again, this is all me guessing here, but again, I think that I love the OBP being up. If I saw that down, then I'd be very, very concerned. I just think that let's pump the brakes a little bit, give him a little bit more time, and then we'll see what happens. Hopefully into August, maybe we're talking about AAA.
Well, and respectfully, those guys aren't the answers. I mean, you'd like to get a jolt from them, but they're just
short term.
I don't think they are. Yeah, right. They're not going to come up and pull tricks on us.
Which is news, because I sometimes
especially Shaw.
I thought Matt Shaw was going to be the guy that I thought he was going to be here in the midsummer.
I guess I visualized him and Horton being promoted on the same day.
Yeah. I thought the Morel thing. Ty's right. It's gone better than we thought. It's still not great.
Yeah,
still not great over there. And by great, I mean it's still not league average over there, but it's not awful. But yeah, it's been good enough to where, it's just there's a lot going on right now, man. I just can't believe the team I watched on Sunday. I can't believe I was at that game.
Ty, give us one more name before we get to Cubs Braves.
So do you guys want to hear about a guy that is impactful potentially this year, or a guy on the younger side?
Whatever you want to talk about.
I want to bring up one guy that I would absolutely love to see up, and that's Brad Wieck.
Brad Wieck.
This has been a wild story. So
he's been around a while.
It's a great name drop.
We know I remember listening to the show and like, where is he? What's going on? Well,
yeah. How is he doing?
Well, so he's doing really well. So, I want to point to one guy right now that is not doing his job, that is really impacting this bullpen, and that's Luke Little. Because if you look at the comparison between Brad Wieck and Luke Little right now, Brad Wieck's doing fantastic. I mean, he's got 21 innings pitched, 2.11 ERA, 0.98 whip, 21 strikeouts to 7 walks in AAA. If you look at in comparison to Luke Little, which is why I'm a little wondering why this happened. Maybe it's because, of course, him coming off Tommy John, him coming off, a regular heartbeat. I mean, just some crazy, stuff, unfortunate stuff that's happened to Brad. But, compared to Luke Little, in AAA, Luke Little had 6 2/3, 7 walks to 7 strikeouts. In MLB, he's got 11 2/3, 10 walks to 11 strikeouts, 5.40 ERA with a 1.54 whip. If we look at the bullpen right now, there's really no need to have Luke Little up, because he's a low leverage reliever. So you have nothing to give it from a left-handed standpoint. I know you guys talk about this with Leiter and stuff, but if you look at the situation, you say Brad has now proved himself over 21 innings. He's obviously a reliever, so he's having quite a few appearances. So why is this not being addressed? Could we see this as a potential option of movement here in the coming weeks? I would love to see that. But again, that's just one name I wanted to bring up, because I love the story, especially the same with Brennan Davis. You talk about guys that have gone through it and grinded through times where a lot of players would probably just say, I'm good, I'm going to hang the cleats up. He has been very, very impressive, and I'd love to see him on the big league club.
Hey, I want to bring up one bullpen thing before we go to break. I agree. It's a great name drop, and I think I'm about to make 2 points that totally contradict each other. The first point is I'm a little bit tired of being, well, hey, so-and-so's not on the 40-man, so we can't do that. There's plenty of guys on this team that are cuttable.
It's less likely, but right.
Yeah. But on that note, I just want to make a quick note because I watched it this morning while I was working. Do you remember last year how bad Jeremiah Estrada was? Do you remember that?
Yeah, he had basically one pitch, which is like a freshman baseball thing.
I watched him this morning, and this is a small thing, but I'm trying to prove 2 points here. Number one, how volatile and unpredictable the reliever situation is year to year. And number two, how this organization needs to be better. Okay. He came in 1-run lead, 8th inning, highest leverage spot you could have without being a closer. Who is he facing? Marcelo Zuna, Matt Olson, and whoever else it was. Maybe it was Michael Harris. Some 3 studs. That guy is not the same dude, man. Couple strikeouts, splitters. He changed a bunch of things. You just never know with these guys, but you got to do a better job of helping them. What of a joke it was last year? He threw 50 straight fastballs on our team.
Yeah, literally.
And now he's going out in Atlanta. We don't have one guy, maybe outside of Leiter, that could do what he just did. 8th inning, Ozuna and Olsen and those guys on the road, up 1 in Atlanta. No drama, easy work. He's got a .74. You kidding me?
Yeah, it's pretty telling and something that we're going to need to keep track of and even follow up on, and maybe even doing some Tommy Hotovy investigation. I don't think I'm out of bounds, at least referencing that. All right, that was fantastic. Let's get to Cubs Braves next.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. Pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and then watch the winnings roll in. Here's a pro tip for you. Michael Busch and Ian Happ. Less on hits, more on strikeouts. That's how it's been going lately. Baseball season has been officially underway for a while.
Go Cubs.
Now. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entry. Prize Picks is really simple to play with your entries taking less than 60 seconds to submit, turning $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps of your screen. Download the Prize Picks apps today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a deposit match up to $100. That's a first deposit match up to $100 by using code LOCKEDONMLB. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app.
Cubs begin a 3-game series with the Braves Tuesday night. First pitch time, 6:40, 6:40, and 1:20. This is the last week of 6:40 weeknight starts. It's going to be Assad and Morton, Steele and Fried, and the elusive matchup TBD against TBD, as the Cubs still haven't named their starter. It is Hendricks' turn, and the Braves did play a doubleheader Monday, so they're a little bit in flux. There's going to be at least 2 roster moves prior to the Tuesday's game. Dansby Swanson activated off the IL, so he's being added to the active roster. And Luis Vasquez is coming up from AAA Iowa, so we'll see who goes down. First impressions, Ty, of Cubs Braves and what you're looking for in terms of a bounce back or something to keep an eye on.
Well, first off, let's get a whole lineup together. That would be something that would be more than ideal for this scenario, especially going up against a guy like Charlie Morton. I think people look at that and say immediately, well, look what we did to him last time. Well, he's a veteran for a reason, so it's going to be a tougher matchup. I would say game 2 is the one that I feel a little bit more comfortable with based on Fried's struggles a little bit this year. And then game 3, who really knows at this point? But it all goes back to, I wrote it down here and just underlined it, because if this offense does not get going, this offense from the Braves is top 10 pretty much in all categories. And if you're not going to put up the runs necessary to be successful in this series, then it doesn't really matter if we think that Fried is going to struggle a little bit. This team really has to step up.
Ronald Acuna starting to show signs of life in Atlanta. Had a 3-hit game 1 of his doubleheader. He tripled to open up game 2. Braves have actually, as we speak, have lost 4 straight baseball games, which I don't like, Matt. But hopefully they can close out this second game of a doubleheader. They are a better team than the Cubs at pretty much every place. They have a better offense. They have better starters. They have better relievers. Their defense is better than the Cubs. That is a fact. That is probably going to be a fact throughout the whole year. Doesn't mean the Cubs can't win a series. The Dodgers are better everywhere. Cubs beat them 2 out of 3 at Wrigley. I agree with Ty. Tuesday night, pretty hard for Assad to shut down the Braves twice in a week. And then, like Ty said, pretty rare for Charlie Morton to have back-to-back bad outings twice in a week. You'd think Justin Steele's due for a bounce back. And then I think it's something like Darius Vines or one of those guys, because Bryce Elder got sent down. So it's gonna be like a 4A type of situation in Atlanta for that third game. And I think for the Cubs, it'll be a combination of Brown for a couple, Wisniewski for a couple, go straight to the bullpen. Maybe Hendricks opens and then is done. I don't know what they do, but I wouldn't expect to see much Kyle Hendricks on Thursday. And, that's a break. And Max Fried hasn't been great, so that's a break. You get to avoid Chris Sale, so that's a break. So, I don't want to set goals here, but, try not to get swept. It'd be really nice if you could bounce back and win 2. Going to be tough.
If everyone is back, it's the first time since April 14th. Ty, thank you so much for joining us today.
Guys, thank you so much. It's been awesome. And, next time I'm on, hopefully we're in a little bit more of a positive environment.
Hopefully.
Absolutely. Hopefully. Thank you so much for checking out this edition of
Maybe the season
Cubs.
will be over.
You give us 20 to 30 minutes, and we'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcast. And if you want more Matt and Sam, consider supporting us by subscribing to our Unlocked podcast. The link to subscribe is in this episode description. For Ty Lewin, for Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
Go Cubs.